Hello, here we are. Good morning and afternoon and evening to all. Thank you always, Pete, for showing up. Every week we are here doing these talks where we try to share tips and tools and also just kind of conversing with various questions around how to feel better, how to get through a breakthrough, how to um, learn within yourself to tune in, to take more breaths, just to kind of, you know, feel yourself and know yourself. So every week we are doing different things here. And today we decided that we wanted to talk about how to get through a breakup. And this is something that I'm sure almost everyone has experienced. You're a lucky one if you haven't, I'm sure, or know someone that is or has. And so, what I wanted to talk about today with you, Pete, were just, some various tools that we can use, again, always with either a practitioner, like we talk about, or with our own selves as our own practitioners. Um, Different tools to, I mean, I know for me, when I've gone through breakups, they have been horrendous for me personally. And it can be really hard. Sometimes all your tools go out the window. But regardless of that, the more that you like prepare when you're not in a state of chaos, the more likely that you'll have a chance that it'll kind of seep through, that you might be reminded. It won't be the first time you try to tune in when you're freaking out. You're like, oh, yeah, I've tuned in before, right? So, my idea today is to just discuss things that you can consider like adding to your first aid kit, right?
Yeah.
For me personally, for the viewers that are there, and those who are watching later, I am in no way saying that I have the answers or that I did it perfectly or that I'll even be able to do it perfectly again. But what I do know is that every time I practice something, it becomes more rooted in me, and it gives me more of a chance and an option for when I really need it, that it's been practiced and experienced in my body. Which I think, it's something that we talk about all the time in hypnosis and personal development and, trying to get better is that practice. So that's those are my thoughts, for today.
Yeah. I like those thoughts, right? Because when we discussed this topic, I decided to do just a quick research on how many people, right, experienced that significant breakup. And the Journal of Positive Psychology had it around 70%.
Mm,
Like, that's huge.
it's huge.
You know? And probably just like you, I have gone through a couple where they were like devastating. Um, and it just felt like my world was crumbling down. It's like things I enjoyed lost meaning. Um, just doing basic human things are kind of like, and
Yeah.
it stinks. You know, and I look back now, and I definitely see lessons I learned that I've used in relationships after the ones that were pretty bad. But if you were going, Pete, I understand you just went through a horrible breakup. You're going to look back on these lessons. I would have been like, who are you to tell me anything right now? You don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, that is something we need to accept, right? Because, yes, a breakup is painful, it's emotionally, hard. And a lot of us, and this might be more of a guy thing, you can, do you give me the female perspective, but it's as if we're like, I'm a big man. I don't have to have these feelings. I'm just going to keep on going. And it works when we're out, but when we're alone, it's like the complete opposite.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's
And, I
strong
think, and
space.
it sounds like too that, there's so many ways that people feel it and go through it. And some, like you said, just kind of like man up or just kind of like freeze out and don't think and feel about it. And then there's people like me who's, all feeling, all going through. And I think, one of the hardest lessons was, and again, people telling you things while you're going through it is really hard, but, and it kind of unbelievable, but going through it, right? It's like you can avoid it, you can do this and that, but like you got to go through it to get past it, right? And so, what are some ideas that and things that you've done with clients when they're just in that space of so much pain that it's almost even hard to breathe?
Mm-hmm.
What are some experiences you've had with clients?
Yeah, like it's you said it right on the head. Like you have to go through it, right? You have to face that storm. And for me, that is the very first step. Is lack of a better word, is acceptance. It's accepting that you have these emotions, these feelings, this struggle that's right in front of you. You know, because if you don't accept it, right, or you don't deal with it, it can only grow, and it's only going to come out at some other point.
So just with that, like, so that we can kind of identify some tools and tips. When you're in a situation that you can't change and you have to accept it, that's a huge step. That's a huge leap. So what are some, like, as I, titled this inner landscaping, like what are some things you could do within your inner landscape, within your mind and your body to begin to understand a feeling of acceptance?
Yeah, the to me, when we go inside, and I see it a lot now, I say with, I guess, both all generation, but a lot more with the younger generation, where they go, well, I don't care, but you can see it on their face, the turmoil, the pain, you can tell they care.
Yeah.
And the first step to accepting is letting go of that facade of, I don't care. It is what it is. Essentially, yes, it is what it is. But don't just say that as a write off of like, well, I don't have to feel this.
Mm.
It's literally going, you know what? I do care that we just broke up. You know what? I do care. I gave 4 years of my life to someone for them just to up and leave. Right. I do care that I wasn't good enough. Right. And it's not that you weren't good enough, but that feeling is there or could be there. It's admitting and accepting all the feelings you have.
Okay, so
Right.
I would like to just even break it down more to make it really like, um, like, I can't think of the word I'm thinking, but for example, what are some ways to do that? Because to me, when I hear that, it's like, okay, but the practicality, like the rubber on the road, the tires on the road, like what are some ways that we could do that? And particularly, I'm thinking within again, our inner landscape, because I feel like, I mean, when we're alone, we're with ourselves. And when we're with ourselves, alone or with others, our mind is doing what it's doing. So, what are some practical ideas around being able to manage your mind or thoughts, or maybe I was thinking having some conversations, using your imagination to have a conversation with your hurt parts and your, more developed, healthy future part at a table. So, what are some other things you can
Yeah. Yeah. So in the beginning, don't worry. At least for me, I don't worry about the future feelings, right? The new ones. It's literally just dealing with all the hurt ones and the current ones, right? So for some people, and this is where like I love what we do because there's so many different ways. So for some people, I go just write it out. Just sit there and write it out. It could be 1 page, it could be 100 pages. Just write it out. Other people, it is going inside where you go, hey, let me talk to this not good enough feeling, right? Let me go inside and sit down and again, like, acknowledge them, right? Because we can't ignore them. We can't say we don't care. We can't say it's no big deal, because I can lie to you, you can lie to me, we can lie to other people, but we literally can't lie to ourselves. We feel that misalignment happening when we go, I don't care. It's like, there it is, it's tugging. And that's just a good sign to go, well, apparently I do care. What do I care about? Right? Do I care that, what, they took the dog, and that's actually anger, right? Do I care that I feel like I lost 4 years of my life, right? I gave up so much of my life for someone, and eventually it will turn into very specific feelings. But in the beginning, we may not know what to call that feeling. It may be a mixture of hurt, angry, upset, annoyed, it could even be some happy, all mixed in. And we go, well, I don't know what to call it now, because it's all these different things. And that's okay. But being able to acknowledge what it is you really cared about leads us to be able to pick up the pieces to then begin to navigate.
So then one of the main tips that you're talking about right now is to write it out, for example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So some people, so like this is, I forget who the psychologist was, but I always found it interesting. She was like, what she does with her clients is, the moment they break up, they have them write a letter from their ex-partner. So it's like, it'll be like, hey, Pete, I really miss you. I screwed things up, blah, blah, blah. Please take me back, right? And then sign Pete's ex, right? And what you do is every day you read that, and then you keep it under your pillow. And every morning you read it. Every night before you go to bed, you read it, and how they miss you, and how they screwed up, and how, I'm actually a great partner and I did everything right. And, but please, please, please take me back to the thing. At the end of a week, she has them tear it up and burn it, because what you're doing is, at that moment, when you can read that you did nothing wrong realistically, right? That they broke up with you, that they miss you, that you are a great partner. It's triggering something in the mind, right? It's planting those new seeds of rebirth, of rediscovery, of acceptance that you didn't do anything wrong.
Right. That is a major thing. What did I do wrong? Am I to this? Am I to that? All of these certain things. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so
I was gonna say, it has really good success for her clients. So
well, what I like about that too is that there seems to be a couple like kind of turns within that to kind of, mess with or direct your initial emotions or subconscious that might go in different directions. It's like a cog in the usual kind of system and way that the mind can function, especially in that pain and all of that, right? So I just want to say welcome to some of the viewers who've showed up, and you're welcome to put anything in the comments if you have questions for Pete or myself. So, okay, writing out all of your feelings and emotions and how you feel, maybe discovering that initial hurt feeling you have is actually anger, also maybe writing this other letter and keep rereading it to kind of just give yourself the ease that you didn't do anything wrong, because that will be an easier place, I think, to heal from than this like incessant thinking and wondering, which just causes you pain. So, okay, well, that's a nice one. I'm thinking about also some of the ways to go internal, because I think sometimes no matter what someone says to you, they're not. I know for me, I would be searching outward for the thing that I really just wanted from him that I would never get. And at the end of the day, it was like nobody can do what I actually am looking for externally. And so I'd love to just talk a few more minutes about some of the other things that we can do with some of like the internal work. And then maybe you could lead us through a small guided meditation that could help people, or visualization really, to give people an example of what that might look like. You know, what it
Yeah.
might look like to be in such a state of disarray from your life being changed around. And at one way to have a moment of reprieve, I think, you know, or at least starting to get yourself towards something other than just total chaotic feeling.
Yeah. I said one of the best things we can do when we go inside, because you're right, like when someone tells us something, we don't want to hear it. Right? We don't. And it doesn't even matter if it's just around the breakup. It could be around like, hey, you got to eat this food. It's super healthy. We
Yeah.
go, who are you to tell me what to eat? Right? You don't know me. But this is one where being our own best friend, right?
Yeah.
And so in different healing modalities, it's different things, right? But essentially, it's taking a step out of our body, right? Going, hey, if my best friend was going through this, what would I tell them? Right? Would I be like, you're right, he should have broke up with you, right? You're right, she should have broke up with you. You're right, you know, you were very controlling. Or would they be like, no, 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 like you did nothing wrong. You always did X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C, 1, 2, 3. You did all these things. You know, be kind to yourself, love yourself, forgive yourself, right? Because then we can take that advice and then apply it to ourselves. You know, that could be one of the most powerful things we could ever do. Because if anything, we are our own harshest critic. You know, and we need to be kind to ourselves. We need to be loving and forgiving for ourselves. There was uh, again, I wish I could remember people's names. It's probably like my biggest downfall. Um, it was another psychologist. It was somewhere in Australia or somewhere like that. But they had an interesting way of when people break up. So like they can say, you know, when you are together, the maybe one of us is an 8 and the other one's a 6, right? Now a 6, even when they give 100%, can never equal 8 because it's only a 6. And so because there's that 2-digit gap, the 8 person will be like, you don't give me anything I really want. You're not enough. You know, so then they break up, right? And then what happens is, you know, they meet up with them, maybe walking down the street. The 6 has a new partner who's also a 6, and they seem madly in love and perfect fit for each other. And we go, why are they giving them everything that they couldn't give us? You know, but the truth is they just found another 6, right? Their needs meet each other. And so they're doing the same exact thing, but it just looks like it's better because they just found someone who's also a 6, right? And so when we look at it from that standpoint, right, taking out, I say, the emotions and everything else, we look at it as, well, yeah, if they needed an 8 and I'm only a 6, it's not bad that I'm a 6. It's not bad that they're an 8. But there's always going to be that gap of them going, well, you can't do this for me. Like, I need you to do this, and you never do it. It's not because they're not trying. They're probably giving it their all, but their all is still just a 6, you know? And that's always stuck with me when I work with couples, is understanding that gap, you know, understanding that if one is, you know, a 8, a 9, or a 10, and someone else is a 4, there is that gap, and there will always be that gap. And either A, they have to learn the tools to cope with it, right? To find other ways to bridge that gap, or they go, you know what, this isn't going to work and we got to go our separate ways. Right. Because even in a breakup, it doesn't mean anyone's the bad guy, right? No one's at fault. You know, it's better to know that a relationship's not going to work sooner than later when possible, you know. Yeah. But even when it is later, it doesn't mean someone's a bad guy. It doesn't mean someone had to do something wrong. you know?
Yeah.
And I think we got to kind of remember that too when it comes to moving through and rebuilding ourselves from a breakup. Right?
Yeah.
No one has to, we don't have to hate the other person.
Yeah.
You know, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
6s and 8s.
Yeah, it's a great point. So let's, are you open to doing a guided meditation?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me just make a little banner in case anyone comes, when people come in. All right.
So all we're going to do is get nice and comfy. And then we're going to take that nice deep breath in. And then just slowly exhale, keeping our eyes closed. Because we realize when we keep our eyes closed, it's easier to go inside. It's easier for us to find that spot inside our body where those feelings reside. So as your eyes are closed, as you're beginning to move inside, just become aware of all the things you can sense around you. The air, the temperature, the texture, how heavy we can feel, or even how light we can feel. How maybe we feel the breathing, the in and the out. And that just brings us deeper inside. Maybe you begin to imagine that with every breath, it's as if you're taking one step down deeper into a new world. A world full of emotions. Emotions like love, acceptance, peace, but also emotions like anger, frustration, sadness. See, as you allow yourself just to move inside, as you allow yourself to feel these feelings, with every breath taking one step deeper, an image, a moment, a memory might begin to pop into your mind. A moment where there was pain and hurt and frustration. See, as we allow ourselves to recall everything we felt, even with our eyes closed, to see everything we saw, to feel what we felt and notice. Notice what's going on, the way they look at you, the people around you, if there are people. But allow yourself to, as if to step out of your body, to notice what it looks like from a different angle. Someone not attached to this situation. See, they don't know either person. They don't know what's going on. They just see an event as is. And as you see it as is, you notice things differently. Maybe when you see things as is, you can become your best friend. See, that person that just gives the best advice, that loving heart and acceptance. Need to be that best friend to go, hey, you got this. It's okay. Hey, you need to cry on my shoulder? Cry on my shoulder. Do we gotta go have that pint of ice cream to laugh, to giggle, to put on that rom-com Netflix show? We got this. You're kind, loving, amazing. We're gonna rebuild. We're gonna rediscover all the passions that got pushed to the side when we enter a relationship. So you can allow those words, those thoughts, those feelings that you heard to remind you to focus within. See, one thing I'll always hold on to, and I tell and work with all my clients, is where attention goes, energy flows. And just allow all your attention to be on these good feelings, the rebuilding, planting the seeds of growth and abundance. So you can bloom in full glory to fully embrace and embody the new you, armed with the lessons, the positive outlook on your future, building those new routines with your best friend by your side. And all I want you to do is take a few moments to really get to know what that's like. And when you're ready, you get to open your eyes and come on back. But just take all the time you need to fully embrace your best friends, their words, their wisdom.
Great. Thank you. You know, what I found the most powerful with that is that, you know, being able to see it from the outside. And it's, you know, there's that difference in something that, you know, I think we can continue speaking about, which is how it feels when you're in something and what it looks like from the outside. And we're wired in the way that we are as human beings. And, you know, that is nature. And with some awareness and some tools, there is, you know, we can participate. It's not to say that we can completely change nature. When we have a shock, when we have an abrupt change, it's common, you know, if not the way we're wired to go through an intense experience around it. But
Yep.
we can be part, we can, you know, be co-creators in the way that we know it or see it. And I do believe that to be true. So I don't, you know, I don't think anyone thinks we're saying, oh, you know, if you're good enough, you can just do this and be fine right after it happens. It's like, well, no way. But I mean, possibly, I guess, but you know, the pain is a teacher. Suffering is a teacher. It's part of it. But there are choices. So just to wrap up today, as far as like tips, you know, we just discussed writing it down, you know, and writing it down in ways where you might identify one thing and then notice it to be another. And, you know, to really kind of do that processing. Right at the beginning of a breakup, you can write that letter, you know, please forgive me, you didn't do anything wrong. And, you know, put that under your pillow and reread it every day for a week, knowing that it's been really helpful for other people in the past to kind of rewire and just give your mind and your spirit another taste of a reality, opposed to it just being what's wrong with me, what did I do wrong, how can I fix this, you know, just set yourself up for a better, you know, possibility. One thing we didn't get to, but that's been on my mind is, you know, using your imagination to, you know, sit at the table with all of your emotions. And, you know, if you have the capacity and the experience to do that, and, you know, be your best friend or be just your pure self and talk to your emotions, you know, listen. Really, it's so much more is about listening. And then the last piece that you mentioned, there was one more that to be your best friend, to to try to, you know, even if it's only for a few seconds, you know, but hopefully at least 10 minutes, come outside of your body just to relieve yourself of the full experience and see what it is if you weren't attached to it. Because if someone's been unfaithful or has left you, from the outside, that kind of shows a lot that you can't see when you're from on the inside. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I got from today. Any last words from you today?
No, that's really sums it up really well. Because there's so many ways to help move on from a breakup, a loss, right? Really find the ones that resonate with you and stick with it. Right. I think as people, especially when we go through a breakup, we don't like it, right? We don't want to be in pain. And so we go, oh, I'll try this because we saw it on TikTok or YouTube. We do it for a day and we go, that doesn't work, right? Healing doesn't happen overnight. As much as we want it, it does take time. And so when you find something that resonates with you, stick with it because you will see the results a lot quicker doing that than jumping around trying different things, hoping one will work.
And also, I think, really, like you said, being your best friend, which I think can also be, described as co-creating your experience. It's so often that we think things are happening to us. It feels that way. There's a lot of truth to it. And even through that, we still have that capacity to co-create the experience, move it through, especially when we have a first aid kit. So there you go. Thank you today for coming, Pete, and for everyone. And until then, have a great day, everyone. Ciao.